The 2015 execution of the so-called Bali 9 drug smugglers Andrew Chan and Myuran Sukumaran angered many Australians. After 9 years in prison, both men had gone to great lengths to reform, Chan as a pastor and Sukumaran as an artist. In the final weeks and days before he was shot, Myuran Sukumaran produced an extensive body of work. Many of those paintings are a cry against the injustice of the death penalty. The works now form part of a major exhibition in Sydney, curated by Sukumaran's friend and mentor, Ben Quilty. Louise Milligan reports.
We're up against raw power, and if they shoot these two boys while there's a legal process in place, what we're being told is raw power is what wins.
In 2015, Australia watched on as a dark and unstoppable script played out in Indonesia.
We are here this morning, united in a cause, and that is to save the lives of 2 Australian citizens.
Myuran Sukumaran and Andrew Chan, members of the Bali 9 drug smuggling unit, now a painter and pastor, was sentenced to death. The men's final home was the execution island of Nusa Kambangan. But as the macabre circus surrounded him, Sukumaran came to terms with his own fate, spending every waking hour on that island furiously painting.
His body of work's a moment in history that I don't know that I know of anything like that ever happening before. And that body of work, no one can ever take that off him. People can still hate Myuran Sukumaran for what he did, but he made a body of work that talks about the most profound human resilience.
You know, he was only in this world for a short time, but he accomplished a lot.
He made his mark.
Yeah, he did.
Her son's last days and hours play like a film on Raji Sukumaran's mind. She's speaking for the first time since Myuran's death.
He spent so much time and he was so proud of it. You know, the last paintings, he said, oh, if I have another 2 years, if I have another 6 months, I could do better.
On Nusa Kambangan, as she had in Bali, she just tried to enjoy her son as he did his work.
And I used to sit behind him and watch him for hours and hours.
Ben Quilty was Myuran Sukumaran's friend and artistic mentor. He visited Sukumaran many times in Kerobokan jail in Bali.
It was his solace, his studio was his church. It was the way he could then sort those problems out and come up with, in a sense, visual answers about the strength of the human condition, the strength inside Myuran Sukumaran.
Quilty couldn't bring himself to go to Nusa Kambangan, but now his studio is filled with the stark paintings his late friend made there, like this image of the cross he'd be put against to be shot.
He'd researched how the execution was actually going to take place, and in a sense, I mean, it just seems so bleak and horrendous, but it was Myuran's way of, as he'd been doing for years, starting to come to terms with his fate. He was by this point really trying to communicate with an audience and knowing that the media was outside, so this one's self-portrait time is ticking.
I'd seen that painting before in Cilacap, Indonesia, when it was still wet. It was shown to me 48 hours before Sukumaran died. His barrister, Julian McMahon, was pleading for his life.
There's a dignified person speaking the truth, seeking justice, sitting in a room, being told that they're going to be killed.
There was this metaphor of him being shot, but also the feeling of just being gutted, the hopelessness of the situation that he was in. This is such a powerful, lawless painting about the loss of hope, the strength of young masculinity. I mean, he still got his shoulders up and his head slightly tilted back, but this horrible hole in his body.
Very last day when I went to see him, he was really tired. And he said he didn't sleep. And I said, why didn't you sleep? He said, I wanted to paint as much as I can. And then I wanted to tell him to go and have a rest. And I told him to go and have a shower and have a rest. And what for? He was going to be taken and shot.
April 28, 2015 was Myuran Sukumarans' last day. That day produced some of Sukumarans' starkest paintings, signed by all the prisoners he was to be killed with. A human heart, an Indonesian flag dripping with blood.
Really using the most graphic qualities of visual art to tell a story, to put it pretty bluntly to the Indonesians that they had blood on their hands.
Please don't do this to my brother. Please.
And I also remember telling Mayu the last minute, pray, darling, God can do miracles, He can perform miracles, pray. And he looked at me and said, yeah, Ma, I will pray, but whether miracle happens or not, you continue to pray. And at that point I thought, he's giving up,
Is it hard to continue to pray now?
I can't pray.
Don't be afraid, just believe.
Her once staunch faith was shaken by the sense that the Indonesian president trumped God.
Even God didn't help me. The government couldn't help. They couldn't do anything. He's the only person who could have shown compassion, and he didn't.
Dear Ben, if you receive this letter, it means it's the last one I'll ever write to you.
Long after Sukumaran's execution, Ben Quilty received his friend's last letter to him.
This is so unfair what they are doing. I've accepted my fate and I'm not scared to die.
He's spent the past few weeks packing up Sukumaran's paintings, constantly reminded of his legacy.
I think at the core of it, Myuran's humanity shone, and bad people can become good people, and that is so profoundly moving for the entire human race.
Myuran Sukumaran's art exhibition is called Another Day in Paradise. It opens at Sydney's Campbelltown Arts Centre next week.
I am really proud of him. His painting was his life. I wanted to travel around the world, and I want people to see his painting, and I want people to see him through the painting.